What's going on, guys? This is Matt from the Hair Transplant channel here, and in this video I'm gonna be interviewing one friend of mine. His name is DiMuzio, and he has done 3 hair transplants in the USA. In the description below, please check out the layout of this video where the various topics will be discussed. So we're gonna discuss things like Minoxidil, Finasteride, oral and topical, and other things like laser therapy, things that you can do to prevent your hair loss. We are going to talk about if you are the right candidate for the hair transplant and which people shouldn't get a hair transplant at all. And we are going to talk about FUE versus FUT hair transplant, benefits and disadvantages of each of those, right? So please make sure that you stick with us until until the very end of this video. That would be like the best for us and for you, because you will get the best out of it. So let's start right now.
Cool. Yeah, my name is DiMuzio. I've had 3 hair transplants. I started to go bald when I was about 20 years old, 19 or 20, and it started going really fast. And so as an entertainer for a living, I very clearly noticed a difference in the way people were reacting to me. I had 3 FUT surgeries. I had a total of about 20,000 hairs moved. About 25,000 hairs moved. It was about 10,000 the first surgery, 10,000 the second surgery, and around like 6,000 or so the third surgery. And because I never paid by the graft. We talked about this too. I paid by the hair, by the square centimeter of flesh, rather than the graft. Because, for instance, I had multiple follicular units done. It's called MFU, or that's what doctors refer to it as. So one follicular unit contains anywhere from 1 hair to up to sometimes like 4 hairs. Yeah. You know, a crazy amount, maybe 5, but like generally like 1 to 3 hairs, right? That's 1 follicular unit. So the thing is, FUE, they just punch 1 follicular unit at a time, right? But with MUF, or multiple follicular units, they can actually take and slice out a couple follicular units in one piece and then put it back in. So you're like, and it actually, if anything, it's better for the hair, because the less trauma that you're causing to the hair, the more chance that it will grow. And so the less you punch it, you slice it up, the better, right?
Exactly. And this is what most people think, that, you know, they are afraid of those FUTs because of scars and etc. But they don't realize that if you do FUE, there is a higher chance to damage those grafts, right? This is the thing. Exactly. This is what we were talking about last time, right? And this is important to know for the people before they decide between FUT and FUE. You know, to know the risk. You know, I mean, no, it can be like, if people have like very thin hair, it may be even a higher chance to like damage those grafts. What do you think?
No, not so. The thinner hair wouldn't. It's not a higher chance that they're going to damage the grafts themselves, but anyone that has thin, fine hair, meaning like those blonde surfer dudes with that super thin, wispy, fine hair, they should not do FUE. That is just a bad idea. It's like we made a video on my YouTube channel called, I think it's called 10 Reasons to Not Get a Hair Transplant, and one of them is about FUE. And there's also 5 Reasons to Choose FUE. But in that 5 Reasons to Choose FUE, one of the things we say is, if you have thin, fine hair, you're not a candidate for FUE surgery. The reason is that it's already hard enough to get, as it is, to get any kind of real density with that thin, fine hair. Thin, fine hair people are not generally good hair transplant candidates, period. So when you've got that,
wait, not even for FUT, or in general, not at all?
In general, they're not good candidates. That said, there are some exceptions. Let's say it's a guy with thin, fine hair that doesn't really have that much, it's not balding that badly, but wants to get, you know, his hairline done, and he's already, let's say he's already like 50 years old, so he's an older guy. You can already kind of tell what's happening with his hair. It's receded a little bit. He's got kind of thin, fine hair. Getting like an FUT surgery and redoing his hairline might be okay. But let's say you're like a 20-year-old guy with thin, fine hair, and your hairline is obviously going, and you look at your dad and he's a bald guy. I wouldn't suggest getting hair transplant surgery, period.
Yeah,
You should just do a wig or something. Unfortunately, you're like the wrong case for a hair transplant. Yeah. That said, guys with really thick, ropey, dark hair are the better candidates for FUE, because they have those guys with just that super thick, ropey hair and and especially like straight kind of ropey hair. So curly hair, it's harder to get an accurate punch and to not damage the hair, because you're not sure kind of how it curls, especially the African Americans.
So it's harder actually, right?
It's much harder. A higher percentage, period, of hair will be damaged doing FUE surgery. That's like one of the main reasons that you can't move as much hair in a FUE surgery as you can a FUT surgery, because more hair is damaged. And so you really don't have that much donor hair, So this is your donor hair, right? This is like the safe zone of your hair. It's sort of back from like right here and then all the way around. It's like that big, okay? Now you look at a guy with like how much hair you have on your head, right? It's almost about the same. So literally, if we took all the donor hair and we put it all on top of your head, that's about the same amount. But obviously you can't take all the donor hair, then there's no hair on the side of your head, and that would look really weird, right? So, and you've also got to close up this space, if it's FUT, you've got to close up that space. So you only have so much elasticity. You can't take all the donor hair. And the same thing for FUE. If you punch out all the holes, then you're going to be left with no hair on the sides of your head. So you really have to think about, how can I maximize the amount of hair that I've got from my donor hair to get on the top of my head, because I have very limited supply. And a lot of guys write me and ask, oh, well, what about body hair transplants and all this kind of stuff? One, there's not a lot of guys that surgeons that do body hair transplants, period. But yeah, they're super expensive, and from what I've told, I've never seen anyone who's gotten it done, but from what I've been told by other people that have seen it, it looks like you have body hair on your head. So it's not, it just doesn't really look good.
Okay, guys, so now, we are going to talk about the issue that, because I'm having a bright hair color, and after my hair transplant, the front got darker. It's darker because of my donor area hairs, right? So now I'm asking David what he actually thinks about it, and if he actually knows somebody or met somebody who had the same issue. So what do you think about this, David?
Yeah, so I've never met anyone that's had the issue that you've had, where the back of your hair, that donor area, is darker than the other hair on the top of your head. So that way it's hard to blend them together. But I do know that happens a lot with body hair transplants. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'll start getting a body hair transplant once I run out of donor hair. But it's really not a good plan, because one, they're super, super expensive. Two, not many surgeons do body hair transplants. And three, mainly, the hair from the body hair transplants looks like body hair on your head. It looks like you have pubic hair on your head, and even if it's coming from the arms or from the chest or whatever, it just looks like body hair. It just doesn't blend in. And imagine you, Matt, you're already having trouble blending your donor hair with your other hair on your head. So it's all coming from the same place generally, and it's already a little bit of trouble to get it all to blend together. But imagine if that hair is coming from your ass, like, it's going to be even way more trouble.
All right, so David, I haven't met anybody. I was hoping that I have at least somebody with the same issue. But yeah, as you, I got so many questions as well about this hair from beard here, from all this area, which is not so needed by guys. But I'm saying as well, right, like this hair doesn't have to have the same thickness, the same kind of structure as your donor hair, right? So you don't want to mix it up together, otherwise it's gonna just look weird. You're gonna style your hair like, I don't know, like this kind of like sideways look, and then you will have like kind of some hairs like just going upwards like that. For like it doesn't have to like match together, so this is dangerous.
Even beard. Beard is probably the best place to take body hair from, but you've seen those guys with those big beards, those kind of like, those big mountain looking guys. Does that beard hair really look like the hair that's on their head? It doesn't, right?
It
It's got this
doesn't.
kind of curly, twisty. It just doesn't look the same. And
No,
and
guys.
the other thing is that all FUE leaves at least a little bit of a scar. So you're going to have some tiny little scars there on your neck as well. So I mean, do you really want that trade-off? I wouldn't say so.
True, 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 true.
Cool.
All right, so now I would really like you to ask you, many guys think that they get a hair transplant and that's it. Man, I don't need to do shit for my hair anymore. Now I have hair. That's cool, right? And
Certainly, that's not the case.
yeah, that's not the case. David will tell you why you need to take care of your hair even after you have done hair transplant, or even after you have done 2 hair transplant. It doesn't matter, right? You still need to do that routine care, as if you take care of your skin, you wash yourself, etc. So, David, what would you say are the most important things to still kind of supplement your hair with after your hair transplant?
Yeah, so actually, preventative loss treatments are as important, if not more important, than the hair transplant aspect. And the unfortunate thought is that guys go, okay, well, the donor hair isn't affected by DHT, so if I get a hair transplant, that's permanent hair, and I'm done. I never have to worry about my hair, think about my hair ever again. There's a few reasons why that's not true. The first thing is that donor hair is affected by DHT. It's more DHT resistant. So it's kind of like a water resistant watch. It's like, if you just happen to brush it underneath some water, it's not gonna fall apart and stop working. But if you go deep diving with that watch, 20 feet under the ocean, it's probably gonna break, right? So it's kind of the same type of thing. That hair on the donor area is DHT resistant, but it still can miniaturize. It's still affected by DHT. So when you see those guys who are like 70 years old who are losing their hair, a lot of times you'll notice, this is like this for my grandfather, the hair on the side of his head is starting to go away as well. So that donor area is actually, you feel it, and it's very thin and fine, and it's started to recede as well. So even that donor area can be affected. Some guys are their donor area is more affected than other guys. So you kind of just don't know until you start getting old what yours is going to be like. So that's the first reason why it's so important to have a preventative treatment regimen. The second reason is that, as we said earlier, there is only so much donor hair. You can't just keep on taking from it. You're going to run out before long. And it's very important that we try and keep the hair that hasn't been transplanted. So I use a laser helmet. That's the first thing. Reason being, they're side effect free. They are proven to work. I actually just had a guy email me a couple days ago who's a doctor. And he watched my video about the iRestore laser helmet that I was promoting and that I use. And he thought it was like a scam, but he was like, well, whatever, it's a 6-month money back guarantee. I'll give it a shot. If not, I'll send it back. It's like $600, $550 or something like that. So, so he tried it for 6 months and took pictures and documented the whole thing. And he had incredible results. So I'm going to post that soon on my YouTube channel, those before and after pictures. He sent me the results and was like, hey, David, I thought this was a scam, but I tried it and it's totally worked. And look at my hair before and after. I'm like, wow. So I asked him if I could use those pictures, and he said, yeah, no problem. So I'll be posting those, but it does work. And it's not going to grow all your hair back. It's not going to give you a new hairline. But if you're like this guy, you might actually see an increase of hair growth. There's actually been a lot of studies done that have shown it's almost 100% success rate of increased hair growth. That said, depending on where you are in the baldness chain, you might not necessarily have some big increase like this guy had. It's kind of, it's medicine. It kind of affects everybody differently. But at least your hair will be strengthened. And so it'll help you keep your hair, which is, kind of where I'm at. So, but side effect free, it's easy to do. Stick it on your head, you watch a movie, whatever, every other day. The second thing is a biotin supplement. So pretty much across the board, the homeopathic people, the regular pharmacists, they all say biotin, it's good for your hair. And it won't do anything bad to you, so why not take it? So I take Biotin supplement. I take a sal palmetto supplement. Every now and again, somebody will have a negative experience with sal palmetto, but generally it's a natural thing. It's proven to help block DHT. I've never had any negative experiences with it. I think you should try taking a sal palmetto supplement. And the fourth thing that's the most important in my opinion, and it's the newest thing that I'm doing, and I've seen the biggest impact from it, is a topical finasteride compound. And now, unfortunately, if you're not in the US and you're watching this, it's going to be a little bit tricky for you to get this because there's only one pharmacy in the US that compounds this. And I don't know all the history behind how they came up with this, but I'll explain a couple of the things that are in it, and it's been like miracle grow for my hair. I've seen hairs coming back since I started using this. It's been all 3 or 4 months that I didn't even know I had hairs there. It's growing hairs in like bald areas. It's pretty incredible. So there's this one pharmacy in the US that makes it. I got a prescription from my surgeon, Dr. Daniel McGrath. If you live in the US, you can call him and you have a Skype consultation with him. He can write you a prescription if he thinks that you need it. So I don't know 100% of the ingredients, but I'll explain some of the important ones. So it does have finasteride in it. It has minoxidil in it. And now you might go, okay, well, because I've made videos talking about the bad sides of finasteride and minoxidil. And there are bad sides to them. That said, topical finasteride doesn't have the same negative side effects that oral finasteride potentially has, right? I mean, it's kind of the same if you put some medicine on a cut. It's not the same as like putting it in your mouth and swallowing it, right? So, topical finasteride, everyone I've talked to that's used it hasn't had any kind of negative side effects from it so far. From all the people that I've talked to anyway. And from talking to the pharmacy, they haven't had anyone call and say, hey, I'm having negative sexual side effects from topical finasteride. So you got that going for you. Minoxidil, most people use it twice a day. But I think with Rogaine is twice a day from when I used to use it. This, you only use once a day. And it's in a foam. So it's much easier to kind of control where it goes, because one of the bad things about minoxidil is it'll drip down your forehead and cause wrinkles and things. So you got to be really careful to not get it anywhere except just on the part of the head that you want to affect. The third thing that it has in it that I found out super important and that a lot of people aren't putting in these compounds, which is why they're actually cheaper, is latanoprost. So that's the third ingredient is latanoprost. And you had sent me a topical finasteride compound that you found. And you're like, hey, look at this. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's cheaper than the one that I buy. The one I buy is $100 a month. The one you were looking at, I think, was around like $60 or something like that a month. So apparently, latanoprost is the most expensive part of the compound. It's like super expensive for the pharmacy to buy. And it's the biggest reason why this topical finasteride compound is so expensive. It's just because of this latanoprost ingredient. But apparently this latanoprost is super powerful. Doctors were actually using this to help girls grow their eyebrows back, and patients grow their eyebrows back after getting their face burned and things like that. So that's another thing. Peppermint oil, which is more of like the homeopathic.
Okay, thank you, David. So again, guys, we have this magic formula, magic formula, which is supposed to really work. I mean, so the ingredients are again like topical finasteride, right? Minoxidil, peppermint oil, and latanoprost, and another compound which is kind of helping to absorb everything better. Okay, some acid. So if you are not in US, if you cannot get a prescription from US doctor and buy it in US pharmacy, then just search for at least a couple of those substances and try to kind of mix it up and like use your own version, I guess.
I wouldn't say mix it up and use it yourself. I actually had a friend try that. He's like, I don't want to pay $100 a month for this stuff. I'll just try crushing up some finasteride tablets and into minoxidil, and then I'll put that on my head. Okay. And he had kind of some bad reactions.
Some skin, okay. So don't do that. Don't do that. But I don't know about the latanoprost. I will check it out if it's something which is biologic, like organic, or not.
If you're outside of the US and you really want this, and you don't find something else that makes you happy, You can call Steve Cook, who works for Dr. Daniel McGrath, and just tell him, listen, I'm outside of the U.S. Can you mail me this stuff? Because the problem is the pharmacy can't legally mail stuff outside of the U.S. But you can get it mailed by just a person outside of the U.S. So, for instance, I was in China performing, and I had it mailed to my friend, and then had my friend mail it to me in China. So,
but wait, you needed to show them the prescription. So your friend, by the order, making the order, he needed to show the prescription as well, right? That's how it works in US.
Yeah. You have to have a prescription. Yeah. But Dr. McGrath could write you a prescription, and then you could get it mailed. Like, they could order it for you. They could get it mailed to Steve, let's say at Dr. McGrath's office. I talked to Steve about doing this. He was like, yeah, we might consider doing that for some people that are outside of the US. So,
okay, cool.
They might charge a little bit of money for shipping or something like that, like $20 for shipping. So, and then you could get it mailed to Steve, and then Steve would mail it to you outside of the U.S. So.
Okay, good. Cool. Okay, thank you for that. That's amazing. That would be cool. I will check it out. So we have another question answered. So what David suggested is still using some products still keep your hair, even your transplanted hair, alive, right? Because it's still, it can fall off after a while as well, because it's not totally resistant, right? So at the end, we will all get the wigs, I guess. So guys, get a wig now and spare the money. No, I mean, we have this laser helmet, which is supposed to work as well. It's this eye restore, right?
There's lots of different kinds of laser helmets. I endorse iRestore.
iRestore.
And that's the one that I personally use. But, there's Capitalist, there's iGrow, there's a ton of different, you just search, there's like 100 different kinds. So I like iRestore more for like, I like the way that it feels on my head. It doesn't like hurt my head like a lot of the other ones do. It's got a battery pack. Plus, you can plug it into the wall. It's just got like a lot of convenience factors, and I like the research. I've read all their research, and the thing really works.
Cool. Yeah. Would you like to add something on it?
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Have everything you need to know from this video.
I think that's it. I think that's it, guys. So if you made it until the end, that's very good. You will end up leaving with a lot of information you can apply, right? It doesn't matter if you already done hair transplant or you are planning to do it. You will be equipped with some nice knowledge.
Yeah, it's even better to start all of that preventative stuff, and that's what they call it, preventative, before the hair transplant. The worst thing is actually like not using any kind of preventative treatment and then going and having a hair transplant, because then you're going to end up having shock loss, because there's a lot of hair that's sort of on the edge. It's sort of dying, but it hasn't died yet, and you could have saved it, but then you had the hair transplant and it was just like, all right, I give up.
But wait, you mean shock loss from your transplanted hair or from your...
Exactly, from your transplant.
Okay, I get it now. Okay. So you say that it's better to, I don't know, like go on finasteride before the hair transplant or on some other treatment?
Absolutely. Yeah, you should be using every preventive treatment like the laser, finasteride, minoxidil, whatever, before the hair transplant, to get your hair as strong as possible before the hair transplant. Because you want that hair really healthy before it gets transplanted, and you want the hair around it healthy, so when it gets the shock of like all those cuts being, cuts all over your head, it doesn't go, shoot, like I was already about to give up. And
bye-bye.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Shock loss can vary a lot, but some guys have really intense shock loss. And so they'll end up getting a hair transplant, and their hair will look worse afterwards. Because all the hair around it is died.
But the shock loss, what I've seen, I had many friends who have done hair transplant and done finasteride, but the shock loss from the transplanted hair couldn't have been avoided either way. you know, because I don't know, maybe this is like genetically given as well. I don't know, some guys just don't have shock loss as much as I had a lot of shock loss as well, but it grew, everything grew kind of back, right? But I don't know, but this hair around, that might be true actually, yeah, that if the hair around is not healthy enough, maybe your transplanted hair will grow back if you're lucky, if the hair transplant was good, but the hair around it may make it weaken and it will fall out. That's true. Okay, guys. So that's a good point. That's a good point, actually.
Cool, Matt. Well, great chatting with you.
Yeah, me too,
I
me
like
too,
your
me too.
energy.
Okay, guys. Hope you liked this video. I know it was the first interview that I ever made on this channel. Please make sure, if you liked it, like right now, comment and subscribe right now if you haven't done it yet. And honestly, if you really think I should make more interviews on these channels, let me know. I will do my best, I swear. So yeah, that was it. We will see each other in the next video.